We have also stood together in calling for the cessation of hostilities and path to peace in the Middle East, since the spiral of violence began after the terrorist attacks by Hamas on the 7th of October 2023. Together, we call for the release of all hostages. Together, we've called for a ceasefire in Gaza. It is a matter of absolute urgency to end the suffering of the hostages and of the Gazans. A war without end and without a strategic objective poses a huge threat to the region and our collective security. Today, a dehumanization is occurring there that can never be justified. Together, we are aware that a political way out is crucial, and I believe in the future of the two-state solution as a basis for regional security architecture, which will enable Israel to live in peace and security alongside its neighbors. But I want to be clear. Calling today for a ceasefire in Gaza without any condition is just telling to the rest of the world that for us as Europeans, there is no double standard. And as we are attached to human lives, as we are attached to territorial integrity, we want this ceasefire. No discussion. And today, working together in order to recognize the state of Palestine and to initiate this political momentum is the only path to peace. Because since Oslo in 1993, with Gaza in ruin and West Bank being on a daily basis attacked, the perspective of a Palestinian state has never been put at risk as it is. And the objective of a recognition is not just making our duty, but this is as well reopening a political perspective and refusing just an answer based on security. And this is why the solution of the two states and the recognition of the state of Palestine is as well, according to me, the only way to build peace and stability for all in the whole region. This approach is in line with our common refusal to tolerate the threat posed by an Iran that possesses nuclear weapons. There again, we know all too well the limitations of solutions based on force and the temptation to bring about regime change. France, the United Kingdom, and Germany, in coordination with all stakeholders, have the duty to bring about a stringent negotiation which ensures international monitoring of Iran's nuclear program over the long term, thereby preserving the international non-proliferation framework as a foundation for collective security. It is with the same coherence and firmness that we must act to defend the world order. In Africa, our two countries have had a weighty past, which is why we can legitimately send a message of conciliation and refusal of spheres of influence, of respect for economic and territorial sovereignty. In the Indo-Pacific, our history has made us a watchdog of the freedom of navigation and compliance with international law, which we defend. Amid these upheavals, the alliance between France and the United Kingdom has not faltered. It has even become stronger. Yes, during the past few years, this alliance became stronger. On defense and security, the Lancaster House treaties showed that we were willing to cooperate on the most sensitive subjects regarding our sovereignty and our deterrence. When our two countries signed them, some clever people found a way to derive savings of resources from them, and others even dubbed them the Entente Frugale. Yet, they have successfully provided structure for defense cooperation between our two countries for the past 15 years. At this bilateral summit, we will enter a new stage that will scale up this cooperation And our two countries, the only European nuclear weapon states, the leading armed forces of the continent, together accounting for 40% of European military budgets, vow to fully shoulder the responsibility when it comes to European security. And we are faced with new threats, with aggressive nuclear powers, with sometimes hesitating alliances, and the return of major conflict on our continent. This is why, in 2 days, our summit is so important, and the announcement we prepared so historical. The capabilities identified 15 years ago at Lancaster House must be increased dramatically in proportion to the threat. Our industrial cooperation must also move to the next level, and our relation to Europe must change, even in the core of sovereignty. There is an expectation in Europe that, faced with revisionist neighbors, our two countries have a special responsibility for the security of the continent. And it is time to articulate it. And to paraphrase Pete's famous phrase, to make sure that not only our two countries will save themselves by their own exertions, but also that we will save Europe by our example and our solidarity. But we will return to this in more detail at the summit on Thursday, but very clearly, taking the commitment to go to the 3.5% on defense in the years to come. It's not just piling money, but increasing our cooperation altogether, reducing our dependencies, and building a strong European pillar in NATO. We have to work together to cooperate as we did a few years ago in Sahel, shoulder to shoulder. We have to cooperate in order to build new common programs, to increase the cooperation of our industries, and to make a more independent and stronger Europe of defense. Second, on climate and biodiversity. Together we commit to the planet in the face of the new league of international reactionaries who deny science and facts. We also defend with one voice the implementation of our climate ambitions towards carbon neutrality, phasing out fossil fuels and protecting forests, which will be core issues of the upcoming COP30 in Belém.